Chapter 3. The training kicks off. Are you sure you're alright? Karn asked Paya, who was jogging by his side. At dawn, it took him quite some time to wake Paya up. It seemed like his body had a nightmare. Drops of sweat glistened all over that face. I'm okay, said Paya before resuming his focus on running. Karn cast a worried look at Paya, yet he chose not to probe anymore. That was when their trainer caught them chatting while running. It led to all the fellow soldiers getting punished a few minutes later. Their running hadn't even covered 3 kilometers. Damn, what an eagle eye of their trainer. Get up! Keep running! Tarn gritted his teeth tightly, lifting himself up from the ground to keep on running. Every 3 kilometers of their running was intervened by punishment in various actions. The weather was scorching as if it wished to burn everything to the ground. It drenched all the soldiers in sweat like they had just come out from the sea. Fatigue was now clear cut on everyone's face, and all they could do was shout "Hoo-yah!" in response to their trainer's instructions. The entire day was used up for running uphill and downhill and swimming back to Copper Island as an encore. Exhaustion took its toll. It put everyone in silence as they made their way back to the barracks one after another. They completed their errand, had a meal in the canteen, and got ready for bed. Even though Tarn had something to say to Paya, when he swiveled his gaze only to find that the tall figure had already drifted to sleep. Thus, he collapsed onto the bed and was lost in slumber shortly after. On the following day, all the recruits were tasked with mastering the inflation, maintenance, and portage Zodiac boat. Zodiac is a brand name commonly used to refer to rubber inflatable boats by military and special operations. Each Zodiac weighed 300 pounds. It took 7 crews to carry and operate around the buoys. Moreover, their trainer assigned them another special mission to transport provisions to the opposite shore during the nighttime. Tarn, Haya, Singh, Yai, Kem, Tong Tai, and Chart were all on the same team. Despite having conflicts with Chart, they were able to put aside their personal issues from the mission. Everybody was tasked with carrying the inflatable boat over the sea rocks. At first, they were concerned about Singh's health condition, which was unlike the others. However, it turned out that Singh could remain more decisive and sharp-minded than everybody else in such a situation. Singh was surprisingly wise. He took the commander's role and strategically planned what needed to be done. At first, Chart wasn't very pleased that Singh conducted himself as the team leader, but Singh retorted with a punchline that knocked everyone off the ground, especially aimed at the one who had previously underestimated his ability. Even though I'm not as strong as the rest of you, my intelligent brain works better. Do you need me to go into detail about the 10 degrees I've got? Said Singh with a serious expression and made the statement with a stern voice. You all must listen to me, so we can save our energy and pass this phase quickly. Ah, or is this the trait that made him qualified? Tarn thought. Do as he said, Kaya remarked. Since they were all left with not many choices, they chose to follow and put their trust in this nerdy guy's hand that everyone previously had backbitten him from his awkward demeanor. Tarn could secretly catch Chart tightly clenching his jaw. He seemed quite embarrassed that he had to yield to Singh's command. That was one who thought highly of himself. After they all sailed to the coast and needed to carry the 300-pound inflatable boat uphill, they all followed Singh's strategy strictly. The techniques Singh had shared and planned effectively facilitated them. It did not take long to carry this watercraft uphill, and now they were carrying it downhill to complete their mission in time. The training kept pushing forward nonstop, and just like everybody else, if any trainee couldn't endure it, they had an option to quit. For those who were too ill to continue would be weeded out, not to become a burden for others. Strangely enough, Singh managed to soldier on right up to this moment. Regardless of how astounding they were, no one said a word, assuming it must have been Singh's brainy brain that got him through all of these gruesome training sessions. Splash, splash. Tarn scooped water in his water bowl, poured it on himself repeatedly, and took soap to rub against his body, both eyes fixated on the one on his side with the uncovered torso, just like him. Well, here's the honest truth. He wasn't gay. He just simply admired the chiseled body of his buddy. That's all, really. Paya did have such a sculptural body, regardless of the uneven skin from training under the blazing sun. Still, it could do no harm to Paya's heart-throbbing charm. Darn! Yai tried hard to suppress his voice after noticing his little brother was inappropriately eyeing on Paya. Haya laughed as he was well aware of being stared at all the time. It felt strange at first, but he grew accustomed to it over time. Tarn just laid his eye on him, but nothing more obscene, so Paya didn't think much of it. Yai restrained his little boy. You keep staring at him every single day that he starts to erode. Why keep staring? All the men have everything the other men have, don't they? I don't see him erode anywhere, retorted Tarn. Those eyes roamed on that full, puffing, muscular body and compared it to himself. Well, it's true he also had one like Payas, but still a far cry from the oozingly charming one like Payas. You're drooling. Piyay, just bathe, will you? Even Paya didn't complain about it, right, Paya? Paya feigned a thoughtful face and gave a teasing smile. No matter how I say, you'll never stop your shameless leer at him, won't you? Paya reached out to slap Tarn in the face. Did Paya just slap him? No, it was more like a caress, a very soft, gentle, and tender touch. I'm off now. Finish your bath quickly, Paya said lightheartedly as he gave Tarn a soft grip on the shoulder and walked right past him out of the bathroom. Tarn was left petrified with a pounding heart. He lifted his hand to touch his own cheek, the same side that had been touched by Paya, and slid it down to his shoulder. Or am I really gay? Why did I have to blush red papaya? Does my face need to burn by that touch? But should I continue bathing? Never want the trace of his touch to be washed away at all. This is the very first time we touched with full attention. Splash. Ah, PI! How could you splash the water on me? My face swamped and it got me choked up. Water. Hey, what about the trace of Paya's touch? Tarn raised his hand to feel his cheek. With the sight of the drenched face like this, the trail of Paya's hand would have dissolved into the water. Ei, you asshole brother, you burst my dreamy bubble. Stop making a horny face and finish bathing already. Yuck, reddened by just one soft touch like a sissy girl. And why Tarn has to make a horny face? Asked Singh. That derpy, doubtful expression got Tarn to stifle his laughter, while Yai lifted his hand to rub both temples. You guys gave me a headache. Just finish bathing. Chop chop, I'm starving. Tarn could no longer hold back his laughter, while Singh was still lost in the confusion. After the evening meal, Tarn and friends entered the barracks, but Chart and his crews blocked the way, causing Tarn and friends to not be able to enter the room. Tarn was the first to raise the issue. Back off! Why the heck you blocked us for? To stir up trouble? Not now. He was so snoozy that the entire body crying for sleep. Please, please. Easy, Tan. Give him some time to rehearse. Tong Tai, the long-haired guy who was the quietest one among Chart's crews, said amusedly. I didn't talk to you. I talked to Singh. Tarn squinted his eyes, unblinkingly looking at Chart before retreating to stand beside Paya and pushing Singh's back, making him confront Chart. He waited to see if Chart would do anything to Singh. Singh didn't know how to act and had zero clue what Chart would say or bully him again. Singh's paranoia soared as Chart was the only one who loved to mess with him, even though he never wanted to mess with Chart at all. I'm sorry, Chart said so quietly that his voice could barely be heard. Tarn tried hard not to smile as he looked at the apologetic one whose face turned bright red. He didn't know if he should laugh or feel sympathy for Chart, but one thing is for sure, that he was glad that Chart could finally wrap his head around it. It might have been from today's event that they all had to team up. With Singh's talent, it could make Chart somewhat realize that a nerdy guy like Singh was not just an ordinary dude. But, pardon? I said I'm sorry. Are you deaf or something? This time, that voice burst as Chart gave a stern glare at Singh. Now Singh wasn't sure if Chart actually wanted to apologize or stab his tummy. The, That's okay. I don't take it to heart, Singh said and finished with a friendly smile. Kem, who joined Chart, put his arm around the friend's neck and pivoted to Singh. Not only does Chart have to apologize, but every one of us needs to say sorry for bad mouthing behind your back and looking down on you. Sorry, mate. Singh nodded and took a glance at Chart's friends, making a sincere apology to him one by one. Their kind words overwhelmed Singh with gratitude, and he couldn't help but forgive them. His sister was right. To open his eyes to the world, he may have found some good friends, and Singh believed he had already found one. These people remaining in this room had been through a lot by his side throughout these many days. The bond started to be forged, let the guard down, and finally befriended. Never knew it felt this great, sister. After all the breaks had been mended by Chart and his friends, now everyone could foster their friendship without further questioning one another. Tarn and Paya returned to their own bed for a restful night. However, Tarn still stayed up because the itch on his back was too disturbing, so he woke up to apply some lotion. Paya turned to the side and found Tarn struggling to cure himself, so he got up from the bed and took the lotion from Tarn's hand. Paya? Holy shit. Thought it was a trainer. Damn it. I'll do it for you. If Tarn couldn't do it on his own, why didn't he lend a friend's hand? What? No need for that. Tarn didn't want to bother Paya and was embarrassed too, especially when it was Paya. How could he let Paya mess around with his body? Paya didn't care. He sat on Tarn's bed, dispensed the lotion on the index and middle fingers, and gently applied it on Tarn's back without any hint of disgust. Tarn startled, stretching out his back. Don't tense up. I just applied the lotion. Or did it hurt? Oh, no, no, no. It doesn't hurt at all. It was so gentle. Hmm. I'll try to be gentle. You can go harder because I'm so itchy. Okay, okay. I'll rub harder. Mm. Ugh, it feels so good. This was heaven to have Paya applying the lotion on him. His hand was so soft, even if it wasn't Tarn, still said so. There was no sign of being grossed out on the deceased trail on his back. Tarn would be in for a sweet dream tonight. Hehe. Switching to the faces of everyone else lying, they watched Haya and Tarn from their bed. The eye stared at Kem's face, who had changed his bed to the one next to him, as the former occupant had already left the training. Cam rolled to the side and quietly asked Yai, "Do they know that we haven't slept?" And their conversation made everyone go overboard. The light out room with two people's silhouettes flickering in the dark. If I had not heard Tarn tell Paya to apply the lotion to him, I must have imagined something else. Even if they knew, do you think they would stop? Yai quietly questioned back at Kem, how he wished to hit his saucy brother with a pillow, but he managed to suppress his feelings. He didn't want to wake Tarn up from the wildest dream. Nope. Despite knowing how shameless Tarn was, he thought he was quite a bit shameless, but nothing came close to Tarn. Taya, I'm sleepy now. Let me finish first. You decide. Someone, please, mute these two and just apply the lotion in silence. It really couldn't help take our imagination far off the roof. Hoo, yeah! The training still went on. Today, the task was carrying a 100-kilogram log, one log for 8 crews to bring it up to the steep hilltop. The path wasn't even. Instead, it was covered by rugged, rough rocks, obstructing them throughout the journey. The closer they were to the peak, the more formidable the climb became. No matter how much fatigue and exhaustion may have loomed, they all were committed to accomplishing it. Tarn panted heavily, but the hand still held onto the log tightly. If only he knew he would follow PI's advice, so he wouldn't breathlessly gasp for air like this. That advice was, before joining the boot camp here, Tarn and Yai planned for physical training together, and Yai included the carrying rice sack uphill in their session. However, Tarn refused to do this part as it wore him out. He assumed it wouldn't be as heavy as recklessly, knowing he had to share its weight with many people, resulting in Tarn himself now, who was exhausted to death at this very moment. Tarn, came the voice of Paya, causing Tarn to wrench himself and regain his wits. Tarn shouted back, "I'm okay. Even if you're not, you have to. We're almost there," roared Yai from the front. The high mountain always defeated his little brother, but diving deep in the water was his thing. He had never been shaken by it. Tarn gritted his teeth as he strived forward. He thought of Wang Por's face and kept stepping ahead with shaky legs, never back down. Finally, conquering the mountain top almost brought manly tears to his eyes. Even though he was thirsty like a dry up well, there was no water to drink. All were suffering from dehydration and loss of electrolytes, and some even experienced heat stroke. Fortunately, they were given the primary medical treatment and were allowed to rest for 1 hour while the rest stretched their body to warm up. Their trainer intermittently came and sprayed water on their faces. Paya asked Tarn, "Are you alright?" Tarn nodded and gave a hand gesture to signal yes, even though he was so bone tired that he could barely swallow his saliva. The throat was drought stricken, and the water from his trainer didn't help at all. Nevertheless, he kept fighting on, not going to wave the white flag to disgrace for being the son of a great ex-police officer, or Luang Por would complain about it. A week had flown by, and one of Chart's friends resigned, saying he couldn't stand it anymore. To this moment, only 35 men remained out of the initial 50, and within a few days, all the men would be bound to the Hell Week. Paya, are you sure you can do this? Today's session was floating and treading water, regardless of the fact that Paya had previously trained to swim for 1 to 7 miles. He still did not seem to be water-based activity friendly. Paya almost drowned many times, and with both hands and feet tied, Tarn wasn't sure if Paya could handle it. Paya nodded with full determination glistening in his eyes. Tarn twirled around to take the dry box, then plunged into the water. Dry box or waterproof box is the specific equipment box commonly used by SEALs to keep equipment and supplies dry and protected from water exposure. After that, Paya was thrown down. The tall figure flipped his body and started to stroke forward. Tarn was floating nearby, unblinkingly observing Paya. Paya dove into the water and propelled forward. He emerged to the surface, inhaled, and dove back underwater again. This stroke was called "butterfly", which Paya had practiced for the entire 2 months before joining the training, so he could easily breeze through it. Paya dove down under the surface again. "My precious, I shall reclaim it." That voice. Tarn furrowed his brows, watching Paya. The tall figure was underwater longer than usual, but before long, Paya ascended from the water to gasp and strive forward. When it was time to dive back in, he inhaled deeply again before submerging underneath the surface. "What is your entitlement to deprive her from my presence?" Again, he couldn't be more confident than this. That voice. "Ugh!" Kaya emerged from the water, drinking a gulp from choking, panting. Tarn noticed the frailty from Paya and converged to help, but Paya fluttered his head and kept swimming on. The time that Paya swooped back into the water, that voice resounded into his auditory sense again. "A man of your kind always torments her soul. I shall not let her suffer again. I shall reclaim her." Who? Who is her? Maya, are you sure you can do this? Tarn repeated his question. Maya swallowed his saliva down his throat and carried on with the eye that cast on unyielding determination. He would never let anything impede him, even that monster. Haya concentrated his mind, inhaled deeply again, and descended into the water. He kept swimming until he reached the shore. After the trainer blew the whistle, Tarn hurriedly untied Haya, strode up to the bank, and waited for the other frogmen. "Are you sure you're all right?" Haya nodded in affirmation to Tarn, yet Tarn's distress still lingered. The unwell expression played across Haya's face, yet Tarn chose to put off his doubt for later. It took Haya longer than usual to rise above, and he seemed to lose his peace of mind after that. There must have been something. Tarn stood firm in his conviction. The evening. Everyone readied themselves to rest, including Tarn. He uttered a quick prayer and paid homage to the pillow 3 times before stealing a glance at his friend, who was also doing the same ritual. Tarn finally asked the question he had put off in the afternoon. "Kaya, is there anything crossing your mind?" Taken aback by that word, Kaya responded to Tarn's gaze and wavered his head. "No," he said before collapsing his body on the mattress. "But I know you do. You can share it with me, mate." If he told the truth, Tarn would think that he must have been crazy. "I also have the top secret. Only few people knew it, but I'm gonna tell you." Kaya squeezed his eyebrows. "What for? I don't want to know." "You don't? Really? But mine was something so supernatural." Kaya looked at that face perplexedly. Tarn lifted a wry smirk to the corner of his mouth and walked up to sit on Paya's bed. He laid his eyes on the tall figure, who tucked himself under the blanket, then bowed down to whisper in his friend's ear. "Are we just air filling the room to them?" muttered Kim, while the rest curled their lips into laughter. All the attention gathered on those two close friends breathing into each other's ears side to side. Everyone else shook their head amusingly in their corner. Didn't want to interrupt the good time, so they might have missed some big scenes. Mr. Kim, do you know if the air didn't consist of just zip it, nerd. I don't want to attend your science class right now. Kim cut circuited before Singh could begin his lecture about loads of experiments to them. To be frank, even after a million times, a person like Kim could never understand such an intricate thing. Psst, Kim swiveled to Yai, standing with his arms crossed and both eyes prying on the two. You're Don's longtime friend. Has he ever done something like this to you? Yai shook his head. If he did, I'd definitely kick his ass. How dare you ask that? You. So, why they? If you want to know, go ask them yourself. But one thing is for sure, they are friends. Stop your absurd imagination on them. You can't help it. They really take a good care of each other. Chart lifted his face and gave a mischievous remark. Cam nodded to support that idea. I don't see anything strange, interrupted Singh, and everybody gave an unimpressed look. Only you, who didn't understand such a thing, Singh, you dumbass. Yai shook his head. He knew that Tarn had special feelings for Paya, even though Yai didn't know why. But it seemed that his little boy's feelings had ignited after he saved Paya from drowning. Yaya thought Tarn's feeling was only superficial and shallow, but maybe he had to think twice. Kaya's eyes opened wide in disbelief. The thing Tarn had told him was true? Are you for real? Kaya sat up with his back leaning on the wall. Tarn nodded. Yeah, I've had it since I was a kid. If not, how could they save you from the Mekong River? It might be just a coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence in this world, man. The accurate clairvoyance that he possessed, Wang Pu said it was from the karma of his past life. Kaya wore a thoughtful expression. Right. Perhaps the time that he drowned was also included. It wasn't an accident because someone dragged him down the river. Indeed. Can you see the ghost? Tarn shook his head. Nope, and no thanks. I'm scared. Despite living as a temple boy since childhood, seeing ghosts remained unfamiliar to him, and those who possessed this ability wouldn't enjoy owning it much either. A hint of reluctant expression appeared on Kaya's face. He was still uncertain if he should tell Tarn. However, Tarn was a Nong-Kai local. He may have heard about it. Actually, that day that I fell into the Mekong, it wasn't an accident. What? There was someone dragging me down. Tarn put on a puzzling expression. But at the time I saved you that day, I saw no one. I can swim, but I couldn't get myself back up as there was something bound to my ankles, said Paya with a firm voice. Tarn frowned, for he absolutely couldn't see anything. But after looking at Paya's face in searching for reaffirmation, Tarn was too afraid to let the word escape his mouth. That firm, validating expression caused Tarn to pay attention to every word Paya would tell. Before you came and saved me, I had seen a monster. A monster? A snake with a crest and red eyes. A naga? You can't be serious. Tarn thought that it might have just been Paya's hallucination. However, as he caught a glimpse of Paya's solemn expression, he began to believe that Paya might have truly seen it. According to Luangpur, there were indeed sacred creatures in the Mekong River. Moreover, as residents of Nong Khai, we held a steadfast belief in the myth of Naga, so this wasn't something implausible. Kaya was fortunate enough to witness it, so wasn't it considered an auspicious event? If that thing really was a naga, you should be happy to witness him. He may make his presence for a blessing.
No, not for a blessing. He came to take my life.
Kaya would have met certain death if it hadn't been for Tarn's timely arrival. He was acutely aware of this fact. It came for his very life, seeking to eliminate him like a deadly menace echoing in his sleep. But it might have been because it couldn't harm him directly, so it relentlessly haunted him like this. I'm not the expert on a thing like this, but I believe if you plead for forgiveness, he might forgive you. You may have profaned him in some way.
I have done everything.
His grandmother brought him to make merit in every of Naga's realms, especially in Nongkai. He had been everywhere. Kamchanod Temple, Mukalinda Lake, Chalpupaya Sri Sudho at Asia Peak, Hamdipiang Cave, Thai Temple, Po Chai Temple, and also the Naga with white elephant head statue. But that dream never seemed to disappear. Instead, new, blurry events came to interfere even more. The vague, unclear ones, with a hazy voice he couldn't interpret. They were accompanied by the image of the Naga from the moment he had drowned in the Mekong River, with the recent revelation that something the monster longed to reclaim was a woman. But which woman? He had never stolen any woman from anyone, so which woman could he ever possess? Noticing Paya cast his fatigue, mixed with his perplexity, stirred Tarn's heart even more. Tarn gently stretched out the hand and gripped Paya's knee. How about when the training is over, I'll take you to meet Longpo. Maybe Longpo could help you out of this nightmare. Paya lifted his gaze to Tarn's face, with those round, crystal clear eyes and the wide beam, not even mentioning the solution Tarn gave him. Those all inexplicably warmed Paya's heart. If it wasn't Tarn, they would have told him to have his head examined. Paya reached out to that hand on his knee, squeezed it softly, and said a word that resonated from the bottom of his mind.
Thank you. There seems to be only you who understand me.
Tarn's heart swelled as he smiled broadly with contentment. He nodded in acknowledgement to Paya, patted that shoulder to comfort the worried soul, and put Paya at ease. We touched each other's hand too, Singh blurted out after stumbling on it, causing everyone to swoop that way. Yay! Look at Tarn's face! How merry it is!
Let him be.
Do it as you please. Go ahead. Knock yourself out and let me sleep. Sing! Stop crying on them! Go to sleep! Chart hissed to Sing, who wanted to have his participation in everything. Yes, yes. Sing swiftly collapsed on his bed. Kem squinted his eyes at Chart and Sing. Since the day they were mended, they seemed to take care of each other pretty well, too. Or it might have been something under cover of darkness, said in the Ghost Trips voiceover. Ghost Trips, or Konwad P, is a famous TV program in Thailand, narrates ghost stories and conducts ghost hunting expeditions. End of chapter 3.